Hi there. How's everybody today? Okay, I think I am live. Things are looking pretty good here on my end. Anybody out there? Hi. Okay, we are here today for our Thursday training. Hey, Susan, nice to see you out there. We have a great subject to talk about today. So I'm going to just give it a couple seconds here to let a couple people who are out there join if they're joining. And I'm excited actually that I'm here with you today because my life has been crazy lately. I don't know. Is it this full moon thing that's been going on or what? Probably not, because I think my life has actually been crazy for the last 2 months. And part of that is because I have this, freedom life. But what that means is that I do a lot of traveling and I'm never seeming to be in the right place at the right time when I actually schedule these lives. And so it's been challenging. So here I am at the right time today, and I'm really happy about that. And I'm happy about the subject that we're going to be talking about today. So obviously, this is always about sales in some way, shape, or form. So we're either talking about talking to coaches, consultants, service providers about selling their own high ticket programs, or we're talking to the salespeople who are representing these high level service providers in selling their high ticket programs. So our subject today is you look alive. Yes, I'm feeling lit up today. Thank you, Sandra. So our subject today is how to get through the biggest hurdle, obviously, in the high ticket sales conversation, which is the money part of the conversation. And so we're going to talk about some strategies today that will really help you with that aspect of things. Because, um, if you are selling a high ticket program, then obviously there's a high ticket associated with it, right? So there's this level of money that's associated with that. So we want to talk about how to present the money, part of the conversation, and then how to help your client get through how they're going to pay for this, right? Like how are you going to actually collect this money? So at some point in the sales conversation, and whether you wait and do it at the end, or whether you seed it or mention it early on in the conversation, it's going to happen. So, you have to get to the point where you actually say the price or the investment for the program. And 9 times out of 10, there's going to be some kind of a reaction to that, right? I mean, it's very rare that somebody just says, like, okay, great, how do I pay, right? Which is what we would love for them to say. But most of the time, there's going to be some sort of a reaction to what you say for the price. So, what I want to talk to you about is, how to have this discussion with the people regarding what the level of the investment is. And so I'm going to give you what I call the 3 keys to having this money conversation. And each one of them starts with the letter V. So the first one is validation, and the second one is value, and the third one is variety. So what do I mean by that? Okay, let's start with validation. Validation is all about you and your belief system, how you feel about the offer that you are making. So if any of you have been on any of my other training programs or have been listening to me for any amount of time, you know that everything in the sales conversation, all the results that you end up with, have much more to do with you and your mindset and how you perceive what your offer is than it really does have about the actual prospect, right? So the traditional or a lot of sales gurus will be out there and they'll be talking to you about how you can manipulate your prospect into buying something. And I take a totally different approach. And after selling for 40 years, I have found that whenever I do really well at sales, it's because I'm in the right mindset, and that it's more to do about me, how I show up and how I perceive myself and my offer, than it is about the person on the other side of this. So the number one thing that I want to talk about is you feeling validated within yourself and by other people. So how do you feel validated? Well, number one, you have to exude 100% confidence that your program is going to deliver the results that will make it worth the investment. So you have to have this complete confidence that whatever price tag you've put on this program, that you are going to deliver results that are equal to the price. Okay? So that's the number one thing. The second thing is you have to have 100% conviction when you make the offer for the price that this particular prospect who you are offering it to is actually going to get the result they want and is going to get a return on that investment that you've just quoted them. That's the conviction piece of it. And then the third is you have to be extremely curious about what fears or thoughts or impressions or ideas are flowing in that person's head when you make your price offer. And so what I mean by that is that a lot of salespeople they're afraid to find out what's really going on in their prospect's head. They almost hope that the person doesn't say anything. It's kind of like, okay, I put the money out there, but it's the elephant in the room. And I hope they don't notice that I just said this costs $10,000 or $20,000, right? I hope that they're not dying inside. I hope they're not, trying to get off the phone. I hope they're not saying, shit, I can't do it, right? You have to know what's going on in their head. So part of that, again, comes from you being solid that you can be the person who can receive what's coming from them, and that you feel confident and convicted, right? Conviction that the program is going to be good for them. So it's going to start with you. So what happens to a lot of salespeople and coaches is that we run around with this imposter syndrome sometimes, right? We don't really, we have our own stuff going on in our own head, and sometimes we do tend to diminish the value. If somebody puts a objection out there, we become defeated sometimes in our own head, or we listen to the voices that say, yeah, see, that thing isn't really worth it. And so we have to vigilantly work to maintain our own belief system in the value of what we're offering. And, if you're struggling with any kind of imposter syndrome, you get over that by working with mentors and other people who can mirror back to you the true value. Like, you got to surround yourself with people who can keep reminding you of that. Because remember, self-sabotage is like, it's real. It happens to the best people. But those of us who have learned to overcome it know that the way you overcome it is by letting other people reflect back to you how great you really are. So, sometimes we feel, and this happens to salespeople too, they're selling a program and they think it's a little overpriced, or if the coach is selling their own program, they're like, yeah, I think I'm really kind of going too high with this. I'm not sure it's really worth this. If you feel that way, that's going to come across. right? And so it's going to be an impediment to your prospect actually feeling really good about the value and the pricing that you're offering. And, sometimes the reason this happens to coaches and consultants is because you know that it's easy for you. Like, you know that you could help that person get results and you could do it for less money than you're actually quoting. But here's the thing. You may know that you can deliver your service for less money. But the truth of the matter is that the person's results are going to be directly proportionate to the amount they invest in this program. So if you undersell, you are actually going to be diminishing the results that your prospect could actually be getting, your client, once they invest in the program. So be mindful of that. And again, this is something that you have to work on you about. And then one other thing is that, I think I just touched on it a few minutes earlier, but don't be afraid to hear the objections, because if you don't hear them, you don't allow people to just say what's on their mind, give them the space and make it comfortable for them to actually open up to you, then you're not really going to be able to get beyond the stuff in their own head. So I think I talked about this last week, that when you get something out that seems big and hairy and scary within you, once it's spoken and it's said and it's looked at and kind of analyzed, it becomes much less intimidating and very often kind of just self-combusts, right? It just goes away. So the number one thing that you have to do to feel validated is to recognize that it's about you. And if you aren't feeling that way, you've got to get some help. And that's why we all absolutely need to have a mentor. We need to surround ourselves with people who will build us up and who are charging maybe more than we're charging, right? Who see the value that they're bringing and can help you to see the value that you're bringing. And you want to make sure that you hang around with other people who are top performers as well. So the adage, or the kind of the metaphor for this is, you can't see the label if you're inside the bottle. So very often, if you're struggling to see your own value, it's because you're too close to the situation. So the first way to get through this money conversation is to work on you and make sure that you are totally confident, you have conviction that this program is going to work for your client, and you're super curious about what's going on in their head, to get it all out so that you can move to the next key. So the next key to getting through the money aspect of things is value. And this is all about your prospect and the value that they put on your offer. So the definition of value is defined as the importance, the worth, and the usefulness of something. So in this case, that something is the program that you're offering. So you have to establish during this money conversation, you have to actually put a value on how this person is perceiving your program. Now, I'm going to give you some ways that you can reframe value with your prospects. And I'm going to just give you two examples that are like kind of opposite types of programs. One being a program that you could like literally measure ROI because it's business related, which is what I do a lot of selling personally. But another is a program that is a relationship program. So we have a client who sells a marriage relationship reboot program, and it's really designed to save a marriage. And it's for that marriage that's like on the rocks. So one of the spouses is completely checked out, and it's highly unlikely that both of them will be going through the program. So one spouse is actually going to go through this program, and they are going to reclaim their marriage. And the effective rate of this program is upwards of 80%. And even the people who don't end up saving their marriage, in most cases, they save themselves, right? So they have a much easier separation or whatever they do, because they have built this trust back into the relationship so that they can work things out. So it's always a good outcome no matter what people go. But most of the time, it results in a marriage reboot. Okay, so just say, for example, that this program is $5,000 and you're trying to get to this value proposition with your prospect. So you want to be able to reframe this in such a way that that amount of money can be tied into something that they would be able to figure out what the value of it is. Now if you said to someone, what's the value of you for you to save your marriage? A lot of people would say, oh my God, it's priceless. But then when you say, okay, great, it's $5,000, then they're like, oh my God, well, I don't have $5,000. Oh, I couldn't possibly come up with that, right? So you have to be able to reframe this, the value. So here's some of the statistics that you could be discussing with a prospect in this sort of situation. And I actually looked some of these things up on Google. So I don't know exactly if they're in the ballpark, but they're interesting statistics. So the average cost of a wedding in the United States is $25,000. Some people spend $75,000, $100,000, right, to throw a wedding. Maybe you only spend 10 or 15 and you had a small wedding, but the average is 25,000. The average cost to get a divorce in the United States is $20,000. The average cost to buy an engagement ring. Now, this is really subjective, of course, but they say the average is $6,000. So somebody would think it would, they would put a value of buying an engagement ring at $6,000. So maybe you only spent, 4, or maybe you spent 10, 12, right? People go all out. The average cost of a honeymoon is $5,000. Now, I find that actually low, but maybe that's true. But I know that a lot of people take these, overseas trips and 2-week honeymoons and, spend upwards of $10,000, $15,000 on a honeymoon. But let's just say $5,000. So what about family vacations? How much does it cost to take the family to the beach for a week, or a getaway for the couple, right? Maybe people would spend $4,000 or $5,000 to have a getaway by the time they pay babysitters and do all the other things involved with that. So now you've been able to put some value around things associated with this marriage relationship, okay? So if in fact somebody would, spend $10, $20, or $25,000 on the wedding, well, what's $5,000 to maintain the love, to keep the relationship going, to keep the marriage stable, particularly when there's kids and other things involved? All right, so this is just a way that you can value something that is kind of an intangible, and it's hard to look at the ROI on it. And there's many other ways that you could bring that dollar value into things. But this is just something that came up off the top of my head. So, let's talk about another program that we sell, which is a business coaching program. And that's a $15,000 investment for that program. It's a full year coaching, the whole gamut. What it really includes is making sure that people get the mentorship that they need personally to build their business, the mastermind community, the resources within the community to be able to understand business and make sure that they get the marketing together and get that, done right. and the automated systems, the type of systems that they can use to make sure that they're actually building a functional business. So that investment is $15,000. Now, that's kind of an easy one, because if you've identified with somebody that their result, what they desire, even if it's just to make $60,000 their first year in business, if they're beginning, or maybe it's for someone to grow their business from six figures to, multi six figures. So the ROI is definitely there. Even if they invest 15 to go to 60, that's huge ROI. So that's a little bit easier. But some of the other things that I like to bring up to people are, nobody starts a business for no money. Like, you could go out and you could find a job as a consultant working for somebody and, like literally get yourself a glorified job, which means you're just a consultant for somebody, but it's still a job. And, but you have no systems, you have nothing that is going to continue to bring you new clients, right? You haven't built any kind of marketing into that. And you could do that and probably not have to invest money. But if you really want to build a real business, you're going to have to invest money. Nobody starts it without doing that. So what do some people do? Well, some people invest in a franchise. So I, again, went to my old friend Google and I'm like, what's the average cost to invest in a franchise? And the answer for that is $25,000 to $30,000. Now, what do you get when you invest in a franchise? Well, you get mentorship, you get a community of people who are doing something similar to what you're doing, and you get in those resources, and you get the automated systems that work in that particular industry, right? And so that's literally why people go into franchises, because it's easier for them to get that all-in-one kind of coaching and guidance to get the business off the ground. So it's the same thing, right? You're not going to do this through a franchise where you're going to have to keep paying them year after year after year, but you're going to go do a coaching program, but you're going to get those same things that you need to actually start and build a credible business. So those are just some of the ways that you can help to establish the value. So how do you know if your prospect is seeing the value in the offer that you've laid out for them? Well, there's two questions that have to be answered during this piece of the discussion. And the first one is, do you know that you have a problem that can be solved, that you want to solve right now? Like, are you at the point where you recognize that in order for you to continue on, you have to solve this problem, and now is the time? So most of the time when you're on a call with somebody for a high ticket offer, they have booked that call because they are determined that they are going to resolve this issue that they have. So you have to establish that that's part of the value right there. That they are at the point where they see that they have a problem and they know that they have to do something right now to resolve that problem. So then once you establish that, then the second thing is, do you know that the help you need is right here in this offer? This coach, if it's me as the coach, that I can help you, or if you're the salesperson, that the coach that I represent has the answer for you that you want. Once that person agrees, yes, this is the program I want, this is the coach I want to work with, now you know that they have seen the value. Okay, so they do want what you have. Now look, if people don't want what you're offering, you think the objection is money, but it's not a money objection at that point. The objection is, I don't really know that this is the right solution for me. So people always think that when somebody says, I can't afford it, or it's the money objection, that that's really what they mean. And most of the time, not. I shouldn't say most of the time, very often not. So don't be afraid to step back, lean out at that point. And one of my coaches had that expression, I kind of like it. You lean out at that point and you say, okay, let's, you know, talk about when you say you can't afford it, let's go back over to the offer itself and let's get clear on where you stand as far as this particular program. Now you can say, again, is this a problem that you are absolutely committed, that you know you need to solve it, and you are ready right now to figure out how you're going to solve it? Yes? Okay. Do you feel that this program is the program that will solve this problem for you? Are you convinced that if you do this program, it will get you where you want to go? Once you establish that, now you know you've got the value piece down. So there you are. You're validated, you're good with what you're offering, they're good with what you're offering, the value has been established. Now is the last little bit, which is the variety piece, right? The variety is, okay, what are the ways that they're going to be able to pay for this thing? And so there's only a few different ways really that people pay for things. But the first is your payment options. What are you offering them? So most of the clients that go into high ticket programs will pay by credit card. That's kind of what I've noticed across the board. In the high level coaching programs that I sell, most of those coaches don't, if they're selling a program that's more than $10,000, they would prefer wire transfer. And there's ways that you can actually kind of steer it to get wire transfer or ACH, so that you don't have to pay as much in credit card fees. And that's a strategy that I could help you with at another time. I don't want to go into that right now, but I just want to go into what are the payment options, okay? So let's assume that the payment options are obviously the pay in full and the multi-pay. And the multi-pay may be a 3-pay, it may be a 6-pay. It depends on how long the program is. But most high-ticket programs are not offering 12 months pay as you go. They're definitely front-loaded, upfront payments that are offered. So we're going to offer a payment plan that will be, let's assume it's going to be full pay, 3-pay, or 6-pay. That's pretty standard. 6-pay only if it's a year-long program, obviously. So you're going to put that out there for people as whatever you really want them, how you want them to pay. So if you want them to do a full pay with a wire transfer, then the best way to do that is to say, I'm going to take a credit card deposit from you today, and then within 7 days, there's going to be a wire transfer, and you pay in full, and you actually get a bit of a discount if you do it that way. So say, it ends up being $15,000 is the full pay if they do it that way. Now, if they do a 3-pay, you give them those options, which are usually done by credit card. So your first payment is going to be $3,000, and your second payment will be $3,000, and then $3,000, or however, $3,500 or whatever it's going to be. And you say, I can take your first payment by credit card, and then it will be each one 30 days. And then you do the same thing with the 6. So now you've positioned that you really prefer the full pay with the wire transfer or ACH. However, you will be open to credit card payments as well. Or, some people will take a full payment in their full paying credit cards, but usually if it's much over 10,000, you might want to go the other way. That's strategic, which we can talk about later. Okay, so now you go through that and say the majority of the people are going to be, okay, yeah, I have credit cards, I can do that, right? Because a lot of people do. But you are going to get these people who at this point are going to be like, I don't have a credit card that I can do that with, or I don't have that kind of money. in my bank account right now. So if that's the case, the next thing you can say to people is, well, do you have access to credit? Like you may not have the credit cards right now, but can you get credit card? Can you get access to credit? And a lot of people don't know because they never have really explored credit cards. And let's talk about why I actually like credit cards for building a business. I'm actually, I show these a lot. But this is my little way that I built my business. Okay. And you see there's writing on these things. And that's telling me that these are zero interest for to a certain amount of time. So it may be, zero interest until August of 2019 or whatever. So if you can help your people understand that if they can use zero interest money, like somebody is going to give them money to invest in their business, like that is like a gift from the gods, right? That somebody is just going to give you access to free money and you don't have to pay it back for a year or 18 months. You literally, people are crazy not to use that if in fact they're building a business and they know that they're going to be getting a return on this investment. So they're investing it in themselves. So if they believe in themselves and they believe in the program that they're investing in, then why wouldn't they use free money? So for any of you out there, if you want to chat about this whole concept of using credit in the business, to build a business, or even to solve a big, huge problem in somebody's life, and especially if they have access to really low interest or zero interest credit cards, I'm happy to chat with you about that. Just ping me on Messenger and we can, I can share what I know about it because I've built now 3 businesses and actually 4, and I've done it all like this. So I know it's smart and I know it works. So, okay, so that's my little push for that. So say somebody is really like, yeah, I have a decent credit card score, or credit score, but I don't believe in credit cards. So, a lot of people have been brought up with the Susie Orman thing, you cannot have any debt. And, that makes a lot of sense if people are going out and they're buying vacations or pocketbooks or designer clothes or cars that they can't afford or things that are not going to appreciate in value. They're not investments. Then that's debt. But when you invest in a business or you invest in something that is going to transform your life, your health, your wealth, your well-being, that is not a debt. That is an investment that you are going to be able to actually come out in a better place in your life. And it's investing in something that is more important to you than whether you have to pay some amount of interest on the money. So many people have to go back to the whole, the first kind of validating and really work on their money mindset too. So if you've got issues with that as a salesperson, you got to fix that because it's going to really inhibit your ability to help stand in the fire with your prospect who is trying to make these money decisions. I'm going over and I don't like to go too much over, but this, as you can tell, I get like super enthusiastic about figuring out ways to get what we want in life. And, sometimes the obvious ways are really simple and people have all this mental baggage about why it's a bad idea to get what they want. People don't think anything of putting a car on payments, but they won't put their business on payments. I mean, the business is going to appreciate in value, right? You're building a life. So if you have access to credit and you can help your clients get access to credit, go for it. Obviously, we have to be responsible. So I'm not telling you to, tell somebody who like literally doesn't have that belief in themselves, that would be bad for them to go and get credit. You have to use it as a tool. Okay, so that's the whole credit card thing. There are also ways to get loans that will defer payments or be really low interest. One of the really good ones out there, again, this is US based, and I don't think it's available in other countries, but it's Discover. Discover Card has a loan. It's called Discover Loan. And so they could look that up, and it's very, very low interest, and it's like for 8 years or something. So the payments are like minuscule. And so somebody who like maybe could access something like that to save their marriage or invest in a program to reclaim their health or even to grow a business, get a personal loan to do that at a really low interest, that makes all the sense in the world. So that's something that people can instantaneously get approved for too. So you just discoverloan.com and go and apply. Obviously, they have to have a relatively decent credit score to do that. Another one is PayPal. PayPal has both a business loan, which they'll only give to people who have some level of investment in their business, income. Sorry, I got all these words that flow out of me. They have to have some level of revenue or income in the business, but it's not a lot. But then there's the personal loan that PayPal offers, which is a 6-month no interest. So that's just another option that people have. And there's other personal loans that are available online. Just do a search, personal loan, and also many small credit unions and local banks will offer personal loans. And so if somebody really sees the value and they really want something, you can become the facilitator, the educator, and you can really help them to figure out. And I've had this happen to me a number of times where people have been able to go out and get the Discover loan to invest in a $40,000 program that totally transformed their life and business. Another young kid who had credit, didn't know anything about it, was able to go out and become certified in the Ask method by using credit cards that I kind of advised him how to go and look for. And he's now got a thriving business. And I mean, he was like a 19-year-old kid. So, it's responsibly using credit. Now, where else do people get money to invest in things that are important to them? Well, there's always family. And very often somebody in the family would be willing to back somebody if they were making a huge transformation in their life. And a lot of people don't think to ask, but very often it's not a lot of money for somebody else to come up with $5,000 or $10,000 maybe to help somebody, and you agree to pay them back, right? Once you get to a certain point, or you or the prospect or whoever you're advising. So other things people do is crowdsourcing. So sometimes you could get a group of people who are willing to launch you into your business or launch you into this new level of health that, will help you with some kind of a debilitating problem. So those things are now available to people, and it's something that I've seen used and worked for some people. What haven't I said yet? I got the crowdsourcing, the obvious things, the family member, the some people will actually go and use their retirement. And again, I mean, it's a lot to take money out of your retirement. I mean, that's a big decision, and I wouldn't take it lightly. However, if it means the difference in preventing a divorce that's going to decimate the retirement accounts anyway, that going to have huge legal fees, if it's going to be money that you're going to be able to then build a business that's going to take you into your retirement years and be able to support you in your retirement years. These are all ways of looking at diversifying where you're investing your money. So those are just a few of the things. I'm over by about 13 minutes, so I do want to end this. But that's as much as I can give you in this amount of time today. It's a subject that is really crucial, I think, for you as a salesperson and coach and consultant to grasp, and also to be able to educate people who you're selling to. And I can tell you that it's really made hundreds of thousands of dollars in commission difference for me to be able to be an advisor in what's available to people. Like, I don't advise them personally, you should do this. I tell them options. And so that's the way to present it, is like, well, here's some of the ways that other people have done it. And they found that that has really helped them to get what they want. So again, if the value is there, they want what you're offering, they really, really want to find a solution, and they just don't have either the available credit, access to credit, or money in the bank, then there are these other ways of helping people. And people will appreciate you if you do this with integrity. So again, everything is above board with integrity, and not for the purpose of filling your own commission check and bank account, but for really getting the best outcome for the person that you are working with, which is what the HeartFlow sales conversation is all about. And it really is doing the best thing for your prospect, but really what I call standing in the fire with them and helping them get something that they want, that a lot of other salespeople won't take the time to do. So anyway, I'm going to let it go for now. You can reach out anytime by just messaging me on Facebook, or www.meetme.so, S as in Sam, O, /Freedom Shift, and book a call, and let's have a chat. All right, thanks for showing up, and we will be looking forward to next Thursday, when we will be back again to talk about more exciting things about how to sell high-ticket programs. So that's it for now. Bye-bye.